In a small village in Nigeria, there lived a woman named Aunty Naija. Aunty Naija was a kind and gentle woman, but she had a secret. She was a witch. No one in the village knew about her powers, and she kept them hidden away. One day, a young girl named Aduni came to Aunty Naija's door, asking for help. Aduni's mother was ill, and the local medicine man could not cure her. Aunty Naija felt compassion for the girl. Aunty Naija invited Aduni into her home and asked her to tell her what had happened to her mother. Aduni explained that her mother had been suffering from a mysterious illness for many weeks. No matter what the medicine man did, she did not get better. Aduni was worried that her mother would not survive. Aunty Naija listened to Aduni's story and told her that she might be able to help, but first, she needed to know more about the illness. Aduni explained that her mother had a high fever and she had been coughing up blood. Aunty Naija asked if anyone else in the village had been suffering from the same illness. Aduni said that several people had been sick with the same symptoms, but the medicine man could not help them either. Aunty Naija asked if anyone had seen any strange things happening around the village. Aduni thought for a moment, and then she told Aunty Naija about a strange bird that had been seen flying around the village at night. The bird was all black and it had glowing red eyes. No one had ever seen a bird like that before. Aunty Naija listened intently to Aduni's story. She asked if the bird had been seen near any of the homes of the sick people. Aduni said that the bird had been seen near the homes of several of the sick people. Aunty Naija told Aduni to go home and tell her mother that she would try to help her. As Aduni left Aunty Naija's home, she wondered what the old woman would do to help her mother. She had heard many stories about Aunty Naija's strange power, but she did not know if they were true. That night, Aunty Naija went into the forest near the village. She carried a small bag with her and she made sure no one saw her go. She walked deep into the forest until she came to a clearing where the moonlight shone down on the ground. Aunty Naija sat down on the ground and closed her eyes. Aunty Naija took a deep breath and began to chant a spell. As she chanted, the wind began to blow through the trees and the moonlight seemed to grow brighter. Aunty Naija chanted louder and louder until suddenly a dark shape appeared in the clearing. The shape took the form of a giant raven with glowing red eyes. Aunty Naija stood up and looked at the raven. "I have summoned you, demon," she said. "Why have you come to this village?" The raven cawed loudly and spoke in a deep, raspy voice. "I have come to this village to feed on the souls of the living. I hunger for their fears and their despair. I will take their lives and their spirit will be mine." Aunty Naija was not afraid. She knew that she was powerful and she was not afraid of this demon. "You will not harm the people of this village," she said. "I will not allow it." The raven curled and flapped its wing and seemed to grow even larger. The raven stared at Aunty Naija with its glowing red eyes. "You are not strong enough to stop me," it said. "You cannot protect these people. They are mine to take." Aunty Naija was not intimidated. She stood tall and looked at the raven with a stern gaze. "I am stronger than you know," she said. "I have the power to send you back to the dark realm from which you came from." The raven cawed loudly and began to flap its wing, sending a gust of wind through the clearing. Aunty Naija raised her arms and began to chant. Aunty Naija's voice grew louder and louder as she chanted. The wind grew stronger, and the trees around her began to sway and bend. The raven shrieked in anger and frustration. It tried to fly away, but it could not escape the power of Aunty Naija's spell. The wind began to swirl around the raven, forming a whirling vortex of air. The raven's cows became more and more desperate, and its body began to glow with a red light. Suddenly, with a great burst of energy, the raven disappeared into thin air. Aunty Naija stood in the clearing, breathing heavily. She had won, but she knew that the demon would return. It would not give up so easily. Aunty Naija returned to the village and warned the people of the danger that they faced. She told them of the demon and its hunger for their souls. She told them to be vigilant and to stay close to their homes at night. The people of the village listened to Aunty Naija and heeded her warnings. They thanked her for protecting them, and they began to call her Aunty Naija, the witch of the forest. Aunty Naija spent her days tending to the sick and injured, and her nights defending the village from the demon. As the day passed, the people began to feel safer. But Aunty Naija knew that the demon would not give up so easily. One night, as she was walking through the forest, she heard a low, rumbling sound. It grew louder and louder, and Aunty Naija began to run. Ahead of her, she could see a great shadow moving through the trees. It was the demon, and it was heading straight to the village. Aunty Naija ran faster than she ever had before. As she approached the village, she could see that the people were asleep in their homes. She had to wake them up and warn them of the danger. She began to shout and bang on doors, but no one would listen. They were all too deeply asleep. Desperate, Aunty Naija ran to the village square and stood on a tall rock. She began to sing a song that she had learned long ago. The song was a magical song that was said to have the power to wake the dead. Aunty Naija sang the song with all her heart and soul. As she sang, the people of the village began to stir. They woke up from their deep sleep and looked around confused, but then they heard Aunty Naija's voice and they gathered in the square. When the song ended, Aunty Naija told them of the demon and what it wanted to do. The people were scared, but they were grateful to Aunty Naija for warning them. Aunty Naija told the people that they must be brave and fight the demon together. She gave them each a small pouch of salt and told them to throw it at the demon if it came near. The people of the village took their salt and returned to their homes. Aunty Naija went to the edge of the village and waited. The night was silent and still, and Aunty Naija began to wonder if the demon would come. And then she heard it, a low rumbling sound growing louder and louder. The demon was coming. Aunty Naija stood her ground as the demon approached. It was a huge, hulking creature with glowing red eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth. It let out a terrifying roar, but Aunty Naija did not flinch. She looked the demon straight in the eye and began to sing her song again. As she sang, the demon seemed to shrink before her very own eyes. Its glowing red eyes dimmed and it let out a final weak roar. Then it simply vanished into thin air. The people of the village came running out of their homes and they cheered for Aunty Naija, the witch of the forest, who have saved them from the demon. From that day on, the people of the village respected Aunty Naija and treated her with great honor. And Aunty Naija continued to look after the people, always ready to fight for them if they were ever in danger again. And whenever the people felt afraid, they would sing Aunty Naija's song and remember how she had defeated the demon. The end. Did you enjoy the story? Click on the subscribe button and like this video and give it a share, and we'll be right back on our next video next week. Bye bye.